Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us on this chilly morning. I thought I was hoping I would never hear the words polar vortex again, but I heard them on the weather forecast again this morning. So, Mike, you need to start your emails again to me. Mike got me through my first winter in Minnesota. By every morning, he would email me my next tip for dealing with the Minnesota winter. And it worked very, very well. My big challenge right now, though, Mike, is this coat that you helped advise me on purchasing, the down coat that's like my survival kit. The zipper's broken just this morning. So I navigated the tunnels this morning. So I want to thank all of you for being here this morning. It's an exciting day for us. We are welcoming guests from Arrupe College. As many of you know, St. Thomas is exploring the development of a mission-based two-year college tailored to the unique needs and talents of students who have the potential to complete a four-year degree, but have not yet had the opportunity to demonstrate this full potential. Our exploration from the beginning and still is being informed by the experience of Arrupe College of Loyola University, Chicago. And Arrupe College opened its doors to its first class in September of 2015. So they've got a little over, 6 months under the belt of actually having students on campus. One of our visitors was responsible for recruiting that first class, so he's been busy working at this for quite a bit longer than that. But this past December, Jill Mansky and I had the pleasure of visiting the Arrupe campus. And, seeing something just makes it so much more real, inspiring. And our first thought was, how can we bring St. Thomas here to visit? And we thought, well, that might not work. But we were so inspired and energized by what we saw and heard that we wanted to make it as possible for as many people on our campus to have that experience, even remotely, of seeing and hearing and feeling what's happening at Arrupe. So we asked our Arrupe host if they would be willing to make a trip to St. Thomas to share with us, with our community, their story. The story of their program, their students, their pathway to developing and launching and experiencing the first year of this college. And we're so pleased that they graciously accepted. Today, we are pleased to be hosting Yolanda Golden, Associate Dean of Student Success, Derek Brinkley, Associate Director of Undergraduate Admissions, and John Bouthey, Academic Service Coordinator for Arrupe College. They'll be meeting with various members of the St. Thomas community throughout the day, but we've asked them to spend this hour talking with our community in this open session about Arrupe. They've prepared a presentation to introduce you to their program, and following this presentation, they'll be happy to entertain your questions and have an open dialogue with you. So please join me in welcoming our colleagues from Arrupe College, Loyola University, Chicago. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Can everyone hear me okay? Hopefully, good. My name is Derek Brinkley, and I am the Associate Director of Admission at Arrupe College of Loyola University, Chicago. I'll kind of go through and introduce myself here in just a little bit, but I want to allow my colleagues to introduce themselves first, and then we'll really dive into the presentation. We each kind of have a few slides that we'll kind of go over, and then we'll spend kind of the remaining time being able to entertain any questions that you all have. But Yolanda?
Hi, thank you so much for having us this beautiful campus and this beautiful facility. I work with the extracurricular student services side. Part of my responsibilities, I supervise our social worker, our career counselor. I coordinate with our campus partners and our community partners, and also supplement areas where things may be coming into the classroom that could be negatively impacting students' academic performance.
Hi, my name is John Buthe. I'm the Academic Services Coordinator at Arrupe College. And before I go any further, I have to admit that I'm a Johnny. So please excuse any instances of poor grammar, references to cow tipping, etc. It's not intentional. So we're a very nimble and adroit group at Arrupe College. And in that way, we're all kind of generalists. Doesn't matter if you're faculty, if you're staff. We're all generalists. However, I'm kind of the generalist amongst generalists. Um, they laugh. And I think I finally, after months, have kind of narrowed this characterization into 5 parts. I author and operationalize the academic policies of the college. I manage processes associated with academic probation and conversely accolades. I run academic data analysis on a sessional basis and programmatic assessment. I do the course scheduling. And I assist to ensure that Arrupe is in compliance with the Illinois Articulation Agreement. And we'll talk about that throughout our presentation. So my work is really beholden to the world of academic affairs. And thank you for having us, and thank you for the warm welcome.
And again, Associate Director of Admission, and so I'm kind of unique compared to my colleagues. I split my time between Loyola, so I run multicultural recruitment strategy for Loyola University, and then I run the admissions process for Arrupe College, and so I kind of split my time between both of our campuses. But again, we are really excited to be here today, and we're happy to be able to talk with you a little bit about our program and what it is that we're doing. And so I just kind of want to give you a little bit of background about how this program really came to be. And so there was, and Father Steve Katsaros is our Dean and Executive Director of our particular program. And he'll tell this story sometimes with donors and at different dinners and that kind of thing. And essentially, it kind of starts with Father Garanzini, who is the former president of Loyola University Chicago. He's our current chancellor at the university. And he was apparently at a meeting of Jesuit college presidents. And the head Poobah Jesuit, whoever that might have been, kind of said, "You guys are doing a great job of of educating students who can afford and who have access to your institution. What are you doing for those that don't? What are you doing for those students that can't afford it? What are you doing for those students who academically may not fit the profile? What are you doing for those students who may have other things going on that prevent them from being able to gain that education?" And that's kind of where the idea of Arrupe College of Loyola University Chicago began. We wanted to provide an opportunity for local students in the Chicagoland area to really be able to take advantage of a high quality Jesuit education like we offer at Loyola, but really that is catered to those particular students and the needs of those particular students. And so, again, we unveiled or rolled out kind of our first class here this last fall, but we've been working on this particular project. I started at Loyola in September 2015, no, 2014. 2014, I guess. And so, it was one of those processes that was we were kind of starting it by that point. But it's been a process for us, and so we can talk again a little bit more about that. But I want to start with kind of our model, okay? We like to say that Arrupe College is achievable, accessible, and affordable. So those are kind of our 3 Arrupe A's that we like to use as we go throughout kind of our process. And so we're going to touch on each of those A's as we kind of go through this presentation today. But I do want to start with the achievable nature of the program. We do offer 3 associate degree programs. I'll let John go into a little bit more details about those particular programs. But there's a business program, there's an arts and humanities program, and then there's a social and behavioral sciences program. Our program allows a student to be able to choose one of those 3 programs, do their 61 credit hours at Arrupe, transfer those credits to whatever 4-year institution of their choice once they're done, whether that be Loyola, though that is absolutely not really our goal. It could be any other 4-year school in the Chicago area or within the state of Illinois that student really might be interested in, okay? And so we have 3 programs, very limited options for students. We kind of tell them and prescribe to them kind of what to do so that they can achieve that associate's degree. Okay, their goal is to achieve the associate's degree. It kind of talks about us being a supportive community of educators and learners. And it kind of goes back to John's point that we are all really generalists. I talk financial aid. I might, have a student in my office that's going through, some personal things that sometimes I might take to Dean Golden. There are things that we just do as a smaller community that we can really provide that supportive environment for the students on our campus. And so that's really, really, really important to us. We are a cohort model, okay? And John will again talk a little bit more about this later, but essentially our students are split up into either a morning cohort that typically runs from 10 a.m. until 1 p.m., or an afternoon cohort that runs from 2 p.m. until 5 p.m. And so these students really build these bonds and they forge relationships really with each other. You know, I think back to my graduate program was a cohort program, and I know there were days that I wanted to quit. I didn't want to stick around in it. I didn't want to do it. But I think having that cohort model, having that supportive community around me really allowed me to push through, you know, where all of my students and my colleagues in my program ended up graduating on time with our program. So our cohort model, I think, is a really big key to this program and the success of the program. And then student faculty ratio being about 20 to 1, these students really do have really close access with their faculty members that we have on campus. And again, John will go a little bit more into that. And actually, I'll go on and turn it over to you, John.
All right, so my colleagues, Dean Golden and Mr. Brinkley, are gifted in many, many ways. One of them is their ability to speak extemporaneously. I stick to a script, so I will compensate for this by gesticulating theatrically and being as emotive as I possibly can. Okay. Oh, it's already here. Great. So the genesis of the Arrupe curriculum is the Illinois Articulation Agreement. The IAI is a statewide transfer agreement, which is transferable amongst more than 100 schools in the state of Illinois. All colleges party to the IAI agree to accept general education courses in lieu of their own comparable lower division general education requirements. The IAI includes a few pre-major classes as well that can be absorbed as part of this package if these classes are approved by their respective IAI faculty panels. This gives students an opportunity to begin their major coursework in addition to completing their gen ed requirements. So at Arrupe, this translates as follows. Our students take 12 classes and 1 lab of general elective education courses, rather. They take 3 classes of mission-specific courses, which they could then transfer to Loyola if they choose to transfer to Loyola at the end of their 2 years. And they take 5 classes of pre-major coursework and electives. Students who successfully complete these requirements will graduate with an associate's degree and 61 transferable credit hours at the end of 2 years. Okay. This slide goes into detail regarding curricular areas. As you review this rubric, I'd like to make a quick note about the pre-majors. At this point in Arrupe's existence, students can choose one of 3 pathways. We call them tracks, pathways. They can receive an associate's degree in the humanities by taking 3 electives and 2 pre-major courses in either history, communications, or English, and 26% of our current student body has chosen this route. They can pursue a degree in business. This accounts for 25% of our students, which I thought was surprising, 25% of our students. And they can take courses in psychology or political science and earn a degree in social and behavioral sciences. This final choice represents 49% of our student body. Arrupe has 6 full-time faculty members who teach 8 courses over the year. Our Associate Dean of Academics, Dr. Jennifer Boyle, who couldn't be with us today, she's totally fine, she just couldn't be here with us today, teaches an additional 4 courses in political science. We'll expand by 180 students next year, which is a 129% increase. We're hiring an additional 9 faculty members to meet demand. The goal is to keep class sizes, as Derek said, to around 20 students to every faculty member, and our student-to-faculty advisor ratio at 20 to 1 as well. A quick note on the faculty advising model. In contrast to Loyola and other large universities, we do not have a cadre of professionals devoted solely to academic advising. Rather, we see academic counsel and instruction as symbiotic and depend on our faculty members to act as both the student's advisor as well as their instructor. Okay, currently, we are operating on an 8-week academic calendar, as I said earlier. Students take 2 courses in each of the 5 8-week sessions. Each class is, get this, about 3 hours long. Students take classes in either the morning or the afternoon. We call this cohorts. And they take those classes Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays. We reserve Wednesdays as a flex day in which students can tend to personal business, work, study, etc. We chose the 8-week calendar in order to disperse breaks more evenly across the school year. The idea was the less time students have to think about dropping out, the better. However, our 6 full-time faculty have noted these truncated terms present significant difficulties. 2 observations stick out. First, college students miss class, and sometimes they miss class for good reasons. However, students who miss out or miss class on a 16-week schedule lose out on like 55 minutes or so of instructional time. For our students, truancy imposes a 3-hour penalty from which it's very hard to recover. And second, what 18-year-old is going to tune into a 3-hour stats class? Our stats professor, Miss Case Nissan, noticed this final issue early on and has been an advocate for the 16-week schedule since the beginning, and her voice has been heard. So notice it says proposed, just a proposal. So theoretically, though an 8-week session-based calendar sounded reasonable, its actual practice exposed the need for a full 16-week semester, fall and spring, with an 8-week session in the summer. Next year, students, if this proposal is accepted by the Board of Undergraduate Studies, students will take 12 credit hours or 4 classes in each semester and 6 hours in the summer. Like the 8 weeks, Wednesdays will be preserved as a day off, and students will continue to receive 20% more instructional time at Arrupe than they would if they had gone to Loyola. Class sizes and student to faculty advisor ratios will hold to about 20 to 1 as well. Within this framework, first-year students will continue to attend classes in the AM and PM. However, second-year students will be allowed to cross cohorts. We found this addendum to the cohort model to be both developmentally appropriate as well as economically viable. To illustrate this latter point, we anticipate no more than 15 students to declare as English pre-majors. It wouldn't make sense to offer an AM English 274 class and a PM 274 class to accommodate such a small group. And then finally, a quick note on where our students are academically. So people have described the frequency on this chart as bimodal. I don't think that's necessarily true, but if I'm wrong, then less so now than at the end of term 1. As you can see, we have fewer students on probation and more students on the dean's list. So every day, our students are proving that they can hack it in college. And this is despite the fact that many of them, for their entire lives up to this point, have heard that they cannot. So in closing, Arrupe College is truly the first of its kind. We are a private Jesuit institution that provides a rigorous liberal arts education, promoting Jesuit values through our mission coursework. And we do this at the fraction of a traditional college's cost. By taking an incremental approach towards the development of these fine young men and women, we are giving them the support they need to be successful today while preparing them for tomorrow. So Arrupe's short historical narrative has gone through several iterations. However, because of our small scale and talented faculty and staff, each revision has been student-centered and at its core done in the spirit of social justice. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you today about this exciting new initiative in Catholic education.
So that's achievable. If a student follows our program, if they stick to our motto, if they do the things that we ask them to do, they should be able to achieve their associate's degree, okay? And so that gave you really some great information about the academic side of the house with our program. I wanna move into us being an accessible institution, okay? And it's really accessible in a couple of different ways. Our location within the city of Chicago really makes it easy for students to be able to get to our campus. Loyola has 2 different campuses. We have our Lakeshore campus, which is about 8 miles north of downtown Chicago in a neighborhood called Rogers Park, right on the lake, beautiful kind of picturesque college campus. And then we have our Water Tower campus, which is downtown, kind of right in the heart of Chicago, right off of Michigan Avenue, the Magnificent Mile, all of the great things that are occurring downtown. And so if you look at our transit system, in the city of Chicago, it really makes it easy for students to be able to get to our campus because we have a major train stop in line that runs right to our campus. We have major bus lines that run right on our campus, and so it makes it very easy for our students to be able to get to campus, to be able to get to work if they do work, to be able to get to their homes, those kind of things, okay? So it is accessible in that manner. but it's also accessible to me, and we are really providing access for students to take advantage of what Loyola University Chicago has to offer. Our students are able to take advantage of our shuttle that runs back and forth between the Lakeshore campus and the Water Tower campus. Our students are able to take advantage of the rec center, the big climbing wall that we have up at our Lakeshore campus. They can go to the sporting events for free, like Loyola students do. And so we are providing access for these students and to these students to be able to take advantage of really a world-class, large four-year institution. And so it is accessible in a few different ways there, okay? And then lastly, I want to talk about the affordability piece of our program, which I think is a really big selling point for many of our students. If you look at the tuition plus fees at Arrupe College, it's just under $13,000 per year. The way that we make this particular program accessible for students financially is that these students do have to file the FAFSA, the free application for federal student aid, and in order to be admitted into the college, they do have to meet certain financial requirements. So ideally, we are looking for students who are eligible for the Pell Grant, who are eligible for the MAP grant, which is an Illinois state grant program, and then also eligible for SEOG, it's the Supplemental Educational Opportunity Grant. Between those three grant programs, that covers roughly $10,000, $11,000, $12,000 of that tuition, okay? We do kick in a scholarship as well to all of our admitted students to, again, bring that cost down to next to nothing. Our goal is that our students will take on little to no debt in order to actually complete this program. And so that's been a really great thing for our students to be able to, again, get this high quality Jesuit education for a fraction of the cost of what other students may be paying for their Jesuit education as well. So our program is very affordable. In my wheelhouse, again, I kind of run the admission process, and so I want to kind of give you an idea of when we're going through that process, when we're recruiting students, what do we require them to do as a part of the application process? And so our students are required to submit our online application, which is free, which is connected to our Loyola program as well. And so we have students that apply to Loyola, students that apply to Arrupe, and we will have students that will apply to both programs. And we do have a handful of students that will get into both Loyola and Arrupe. Okay, some of our higher end Arrupe kids, some of our lower end Loyola kids, but there is some overlap there, okay? So they are required to submit the application. They're required to submit their high school transcripts. Obviously, we want to see grade-wise, how have they done in high school? Again, with many of our students, they have gone through a lot of different things in high school. They have, different situations. They've had family situations, those kind of things. And so their grades may not necessarily be the greatest, but these students usually are showing us something different. They're showing us something that will prove to us that they can actually be successful in our program and on our campus, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later. Every student is required to write an essay. The essay essentially allows the student to tell us a little bit about a situation, a challenging situation that they've been through and how they got through that particular situation. So we do read those essays. There is a letter of recommendation that the student does submit from either the high school counselor or teacher. And then finally, these students do have to interview as a part of their admission process. If you look at this process, these students complete more steps to get into Arrupe than our Loyola students do, okay? The interview is really, really, really key for us because we are ultimately looking for students who have grit, who have tenacity, who have the drive, who have the work ethic to succeed in this program. And so these students sit down on a Saturday with two different individuals from the greater Loyola community, and it allows a student to talk about themselves and kind of what they've gone through. It allows the student also to be able to learn a little bit more about our program as well. During that interview day, their parents come to the program, their family members come, some students are bringing their high school counselors. It really becomes kind of a cool community event that we have that really, for us in admissions, is a great selling point, for us as an institution, but also, again, allows us to really get to know these students. And so between the interview process and between students having to file the FAFSA, these are just really big things that students have to do in order to be considered for admission into Arrupe. And to give you an idea, last year, about 652 applications we had for this past fall. We ended up having 270 students complete the entire process. So that's submitting all of the required materials. That includes doing the interview. That includes submitting the FAFSA. So about 270 of the 650 or so students completed that entire process. And so it was kind of nice for us because a student who did complete the entire process, who went through all the steps that we asked them to do, in many cases were a lot more interested in Arrupe College and really on the admission side of the house allowed us to make really better decisions about who to admit and really allowed me to know how many of these students are we going to yield? How many of these students are actually going to end up choosing Arrupe? So to give you an idea, if you look here, it's got the class profile of the students on day one of classes, so August 17th, I think it was, this last year. 159 students started with us in August, which we were really excited about. Our goal was about 150, so we were really right on target for that. The average high school GPA for these students, 2.8 GPA. If you look at Loyola's average GPA, it's about a 3.8. Okay, so definitely a difference there. The average ACT being an 18 with the middle 50, 16 to a 20. Again, Loyola's middle 50 is about a 25 to a 29. Okay, so it's definitely a different type of student, but they are certainly not less capable than a Loyola student to actually do this program. Okay, these students, again, they have the drive, they have that grit, they really push themselves to do this particular program. This slide's probably not as important here, but really one of the things I just want to point out is that we have a mix of students from a variety of different types of high schools, whether it's a charter high school, whether it's Chicago public high schools, whether it's the Catholic network in the city of Chicago, whether it's some of our kind of closer suburbs. We have students that are coming from a variety of different types of high schools in the Chicagoland area. And it really speaks, I think, to the broadness of our program and really its ability to attract many different types of students on our campus. To give you an idea of kind of our admissions timeline that we are really on this year, last year was kind of a special case. We got the approval to recruit February 4th of 2015, which was pretty late in the admission cycle. And so our kind of main deadline was June 1. So June 1, we had about four or 5 months to be able to make that class and put that class together. This year, we actually have a full year, which is really nice to be able to work on more of a standard process. But our process will probably change next year. If you may have heard, the FAFSA process, the free application for federal student aid, currently students can apply for FAFSA starting January 1 of their senior year. The government's changing it to where students can apply October 1 of their senior year. And so that will change drastically our admission process and the timeline that we follow. So eventually we'll get on a standard timeline at some point. But right now for this year, again, January 1 is the date where students could file the FAFSA. Our application deadline is March 1. So we are approaching that March 1 deadline. We do have over 1,000 applications right now for roughly the same amount of spots that we had last year. Okay, so it is a selective admission program. March 15th is what we deem decision day, so we will let students know about their decision. We are a single notification program, so we're not a rolling admission program where we continuously push out decisions throughout the year. Students must do everything by March 1. We will look at all of those students at once and then make those decisions at that point in time. Okay. May 1 is the National Candidates Reply date, so our students are required to submit a $50 deposit to reserve their spot in our particular program. And then we do have a program called our Summer Enrichment Program, which Dean Golden kind of runs, and I'm going to pass the mic along to her. But it is a requirement as a part of the student's admission process to essentially attend our orientation program that we do have over the summer. And Yolanda, I'll go on and invite you up to take care of that.
So one of the things that we look at, and I'm going to tell you a secret, I'm a social worker by trade. And I was chosen for the role particularly because of my background. I look at the social and emotional side of student development, and that's really important in a program where we know that we are taking students from various academic levels and putting them all together in a cohort model. And so behavioral, social things will come out that you may not be able to capture on the academic side. Dean Boyle and I are part of the admissions committee. However, we do not sit in the interviews. And so part of that assessment of kind of looking at goodness of fit actually starts during the interview day. We walk around, we interact with the families, we observe the students, we ask them, how did your interview go? And what we're looking for is level of maturity and level of need. and where we could best service given the services that we have. We take that information and we sit on the admissions, and as we're putting students into their cohort, I'm looking at developmentally what students may need more work. What orientation leaders can I put into place for the summer as I'm doing the hiring process? Do I need someone with a higher education background? Do I need to hire people that have disabilities for our summer enrichment program? That is a 3-week program where we have students come in, we focus on developmental skills, but we also focus on team building and leadership. That is the goal of the program, looking at group formation. We take these students to our LUREC facility, which is a retreat. They spend the weekend together based around the cohorts that we've decided upon. We have the morning group stay together, we have the afternoon, and then we break them out into sub-teams during the day, and then we have larger group activities during there. One of the highlights of that is we have a challenge course where students are put through a series of tasks. It's fun. They climb ropes, they do leadership. You may have something similar in this area. And it promotes fun, but it also promotes unity. And what we found is at the end of those groups really are their built-in study groups. Those are the group members that they seek out if they're having problems at home. Those are the group members that say, I think you need to go see Dean Golden. Miss Jessica, our social worker, is upstairs. Have you talked to her? So a lot of the work they're able to do based on that program. The other thing that summer enrichment program allows us to do is after the retreat, we have a 1 week where we put them in classrooms. This summer that we're going to be working on professionalism and development. Our career counselor will work on resumes. They'll work on math skills related to budgeting and finance. They'll be meeting with our banking staff. We have a couple of banking community partners, some that are a part of Loyola, some that are external, that will talk to them about financial aid and getting them ready. The goal is that prior to classes starting, these are skills that they have that they may not have gotten. A lot of our students, the families we found, which has been a very unexpected benefit, are very involved, but may not have the involvement to support college. So they want to help, they just don't have those skills. And so we also have programming during the summer that Derek and I coordinate with the other admissions person, Isabel Reyes, to also teach them about financial aid and FAFSA. At the end of the summer enrichment program, we have a convocation, and this is the first milestone for students. Those that have made it through that program are then formally admitted into Arrupe College of Loyola University, Chicago. This summer, we had 171 applicants apply, and as you saw from the previous screen, 159 made it successfully through all of these steps. The orientation that Loyola has for our traditional undergrads is a 1.5-day orientation. So these students are being asked to do so many more, which really speaks to their level of commitment. During this time frame, if they miss even 1 day, if they're late, they are dismissed from the program. We just recently had a student who won our Spirit Award. He had to make the decision. His family member, actually his younger brother, was in a championship, and their school was going to Las Vegas for a once-in-a-lifetime tournament, and he asked to miss a Friday, and we said, no, if you miss, you're going to have to make that decision, but that decision won't be here at Arrupe. And he'd made a decision. His family had already purchased their airline tickets. And I think if he were standing here to say he made the right choice, he's a Dean's List student, very proud. He works in our admissions office as a student worker and is wanting to be an orientation leader next year for that. But what he said was, it showed how committed I was to the program, and I hope you guys can recognize that, and we did. And so he just won our Spirit Award. And so that's one of those things where having built-in incentives but being very clear with the students and holding them accountable is something that starts within our summer enrichment, and that also then translates to the academic side. The other program that I help facilitate is our career counselor program. So we have an embedded career counselor that helps students partnership and find work study. 1/3 of our students do take advantage of work study. About 2/3 of our students actually qualify. However, what we found is that traditional work study may not be in the best interest of all of our students. And so because of our location being downtown, we've taken advantage of the Magnificent Mile. There are a lot of industries that we have developed relationships with who benefit not only from having people with a dedicated schedule, so this is where the cohort model comes into play. If you are an AM student, you're always done with your classes by 1 o'clock. If you are a PM student, you have your morning completely free, and it's a reliable schedule. You don't have to worry about, today I'm going to take classes Tuesdays and Thursdays, next semester Wednesday. It's a very consistent schedule, and those often pay more than minimum wage. For our benefit as a university, it means that we're paying out less for work study. And so that third, really take advantage of that. We have students who are making as much as $20 an hour because of those community relationships. And it's a different skill set. They're in more professional settings and they're being groomed. And also we have through that program commitments that should they graduate with an associate's degree, they can stay on as full-time employees. We have a partnership with one of the providers that we have given space to on campus called The Clear, which is a senior living facility. And we have students who are working there. And upon graduation, they can move into full-time. And as part-time students, they're getting benefits, which is unheard of as a part-time student. So really successful program. And I mentioned earlier our social worker. Our social worker provides holistic services. She will be working with me during the summer to also do, through our summer enrichment program, an assessment of any gap needs. Many of you who probably teach may have students in your classrooms that you're like, I think this person has a disability that maybe be undiagnosed. So she'll be helping me identify those students and creating planning through, in Illinois, we call it the 504 plan, which would be the college equivalent of an individualized education plan, so that those students can access on-campus disability services and then start the semester off on the same page as all of the other students with the appropriate services in place. And we found that that's really important. About, I'd say 30 to 40 of our students had undiagnosed or misdiagnosed disabilities. And so being able to capture that information right away really improved their learning, which is why we have so many students, I think, on the dean's list. They're getting appropriate services that really didn't cost our program anything. One of the other things I've worked with Dean Boyle is to capture areas of need through volunteers and through retirees. So Loyola has a large population of alumni who are looking to use their talents and maybe not on a full-time basis. And so if we need math tutors, how many do we need? And so I work to help her to support that, and also to then encourage and support the students around asking for help. And so that's been one of the reasons why I think our probation list has gone down, is that we do have these on-site tutors that are reliable and consistent and that are specialized, that are good with working with students. And so they do go through a screening protocol to get to know our students. And then the feedback from the retirees is that they really enjoy having that investment and really having a say. And so they've been invited to the admissions process and they help interview the incoming class. And so that's really helped because they're able to also identify, I think this student would be a good fit, or I don't think that this student might be a good fit because there's a level of commitment because they've gotten to know the student body. So that's been a big help. One of the other programs that we have is our mentoring program. So how do we get buy-in and how do we show campus spirit across the campus? And I've done this through the mentoring program. We have a partnership with the School of Law. We're first-year law fellows who are upperclassmen in the eyes of our students, but also wanting to develop and have a mastery of their own skills, have volunteered their time. They have to apply. And because we're new, right now they're doing a spring to summer commitment. Next year they will have to do a fall to summer commitment, so for the full academic year. And looking at the skills and their level of need and also our students' level of need, they're then matched. Some of their goals are to work on social and emotional, talk about their experiences of college readiness, also look at critical thinking skills. If you're having difficulties in a course, even if they haven't had that course, how did they successfully manage services, their time, their coping, using peer-to-peer, and really teaching those skills and providing a greater insight that we find that faculty and staff, it's just a different perspective. We also are partnering with the Quinlan School of Business, which is right across the street. So we're taking advantage of our location. And they're going to be doing mentoring of our business students. We have some of the faculty that will be taking them into leaders of industry downtown, showing them how to negotiate, talk about salary negotiations, and providing them skills that they can then also use in the classroom. And so that's our mentoring program. Through that program, some of the mentors are also trained tutors. And so they will be subtly coaching students. Oh, you need some help on your homework? Let me help you. And so it's kind of a backdoor way for students that may be a little bit more shy but can form that relationship with their mentor to get services. And we're seeing a lot of success with that. Right now, I have about 30 students who are interested in this program. And right now we've matched about 17 of those students, with the other students going to be matched probably by the end of next week. And so we're really excited for those programs to get started. And then finally, the extracurricular programming across campus, looking at school identity at school formation. Derek had talked earlier about branding, and you might have saw our shield. One of the common colors is Loyola is maroon and gold, and we're black and maroon. Having that similarity, but also having that identity has really helped our students form cohesion and school pride. But also we wanted to be sensitive to the fact that they are part of a greater university. And so part of my job was making sure that students could participate in all clubs that were not grant funded through 4-year, or fraternities and sororities that require a 4-year commitment. Making sure that they have access to the facilities and negotiating that out as part of their student fees, and giving them opportunities to participate. So in the summer, at the beginning, the same way our traditional students have, we have a club fair, we have a job fair. We encourage and we promote cross-campus events. We make sure that they're involved in student government. We have our own student government, and we have our representative does a liaison work with the university student government to make sure that our student needs are also in alignment with the greater universities and that they're very supported. And that's been very positive in helping the students feel that they're not just part of a community college, that they are actually, their identity is that they're a college student. And they take great pride. If you've seen the WGN video, we were going to play that today. We're having a little bit of tech problem. But if you have an opportunity to do that, you can go to YouTube and just put in Arrupe WGN video, and that should pop up, or just Arrupe College, and you'll see some of the student videos. And they really talk about the school with pride. There's not that feeling of less than that I think was a concern when the faculty at the university and when some of the other campus leaders were, how would they fit in and what would their the Loyola traditional students who are through our 4-year program are also very proudful and very accepting. And if it's promoted correctly, it's like we have a College of Arts and Sciences, we have a School of Business, we have a School of Social Work, and we have Arrupe College. And there's no distinguishing. This is the program that you're in. And so I think that's really important. And you know, when students graduate, I think one of the other milestones that is important is that there's a convocation. So we have one in the summer. We have one at the end of each major term, so we'll have one this spring to celebrate success. And I think having those touch point milestones as part of my job is making sure that the social and emotional and the motivation to stay in school is there. So thank you.
And really, we are kind of at the end of kind of our formal remarks, at least for our presentation today. And so hopefully you were able to learn a little bit more about kind of what makes this program unique, what makes this program special, what makes our students special. They really are just fantastic students who have a lot of potential. And so sometimes that potential just has not been seen by, especially kind of the 4-year university community. And so being able to give these students this opportunity to, again, gain this associate's degree, transfer to the 4-year school of their choice once they're done. It's just been really important to us, and I think, you know, you'll kind of see that among our staff. We are very mission driven. And again, we're generalists. We're the ones, you know, we will help them with anything and everything. They come and knock on my door when I'm there, you know, and I will answer any question and be able to get that student the help that they need. And so hopefully you've learned a little bit about the program.